Today, the treacherous hidden rocks of Bruntscally and Torry's Greyhope Bay are a well-known hazard to local seafarers, and the coast is patrolled by Girdleness Lighthouse, a Stevenson-designed building erected in 1833. But 20 years previous to that, a local whaling ship was wrecked here in broad daylight. It was April 1st, 1813, a stormy morning. 5 whaling ships were anchored around the Dee estuary, waiting for the next calm spell. 2 ships, Oscar and Laytona, were minus their crews, who were still supping at some of the 9 taverns which existed in Torry at that time. Once the tenders had collected the whisky-loving whalers, the Oscar's captain, Newborough-born John Innes, attempted to steer the ship out and round by the south breakwater. Intriguingly, he may have been observing the seafaring superstition to avoid turning against the sun or portwise. Just as he turned the ship out into Aberdeen Bay, a gust of wind caught her. The steersman, old James Venus, who hailed from North Shields, tried to steady the wheel, but to no avail. The Oscar was blasted onto the rocks and her hull shredded. Being so close to the shore, some men leapt into the foaming waters, but the majority could not swim. Superstitious sailors often did not bother, believing that if they fell overboard, they were at Neptune's mercy. Those on board, seeing their fellows perish, started to cut down the main mast, hoping that it would form a bridge to the shore, but the wind cruelly seized it and tossed it uselessly to the side. Captain Innes stayed to the last while the sailors took their chances. In all, 42 of the 44 crew were lost. Friends and family watched helplessly from the cliffs, unable to help due to the prevailing winds. The 2 survivors were James Venus and the captain's wife's young cousin, John Jamson or Jameson, who were washed ashore and successfully revived. Over the next month, the bodies washed ashore. Every day, some family would get the news they had been dreading. Many of the corpses were taken up to St Fittick's Kirkyard and interred in a mass grave. Captain Innes was returned to Newborough to his grieving widow and baby son. The final body came ashore on 12th of May 1813, that of the carpenter's apprentice. Following the tragedy, the citizens of Aberdeen and Torry raised a huge subscription for the widows and orphans of the Oscar. An anonymous correspondent to the Aberdeen Journal penned a heart-rending poem lamenting the fate of Captain Innes and his crew. The last 2 verses particularly emphasise how close they were to safety, yet perished on their own doorstep.
The gallant ship prepared to brave the northern ocean's mighty wave, her jovial crew with thoughtless glee, draining the parting cup right merrily. Last setting sun beheld, yet never more on ship or men. The setting sun shall look again. In sight of home, how hard to die! In sight of home, to raise the cry of wild despair and friends so nigh. April, full many a widow's moan and orphan's tear for the lost spouse and father dear. Full many a mother's breaking heart shall rue thy morning's awful rage, and mark with anguish keen thy name in memory's page.